We have got some big Deshaun Watson rumors to look at. But first, if you bleed brown and orange and you live in a kennel by choice and you love the Cleveland Browns and you're going to watch them all season long no matter what, subscribe to the channel because you're going to fit in nicely here. Deshaun Watson and the NFL are actively working on a settlement from multiple reports. We're going to break all of that down, look at it, see all the big blue check marks are tweeting at. But I am Matthew Peterson from Chat Sports here on the Cleveland Browns Report with a pretty jam-packed show this morning. So, there's been a lot of tweets that have come out stemming from last night and going literally right up to when we started filming. In fact, we had to stop filming like 30 seconds in because Dan Graziano tweeting out a pretty big tweet right here that's just the latest of a run of blue check marks reporting on the latest Watson rumor, saying sources close to the Deshaun Watson situation believe a resolution could come today or tomorrow. Recent talks between the NFL and Watson's reps have heightened hope they can reach a settlement without Peter C. Harvey having to rule, but it's unclear how much longer he will wait. So the settlement option was a bit of a peculiar one because it appeared that the NFLPA and Watson's camp lost all of their leverage once the NFL appealed, because why would the NFL even want to listen to the NFLPA? Why not just give Peter C. Harvey a sticky note with the number of games they want him to be suspended? Why entertain a settlement at all? Now, all this kind of got kickstarted last week, if you remember, when the AP reported that the Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson would accept an 8-game suspension and $5 million fine. And back then I talked about, that's awesome for Browns fans and Watson and all of us, but like, why would the NFL accept this, right? They want a year-long suspension. Roger Goodell spoke about that. He was pretty detailed that that is what the NFL is looking for, and they've got the power to do that. So good on Watson for offering 8 games and $5 million, but if the NFL wants a year, they can go get a year. Now, this Aaron Wilson tweet from last night really started to get the ball rolling on, hey, the NFL and the NFLPA might be pretty close on a settlement, because Wilson tweeting out the NFL and NFL Players Association are conducting active settlement negotiations in the Deshaun Watson disciplinary matter per league sources. Whether compromise will be reached before designee Peter C. Harvey rules on appeal remains unclear, with some optimism expressed by sources. It is that last bit by Aaron that really caught my attention. And it's something that Dan tweeted about earlier this morning as well. So the NFL and Deshaun Watson's camp and the NFLPA, are they racing against Peter C. Harvey? Do they have to reach a settlement before he rules? Or can he beat the buzzer, right? This seems a little bit odd to me, because I would just assume as these settlement talks go on, the NFL and even maybe the NFLPA telling Peter, hey, whatever ruling you have, pause. We're going to try and figure out ourselves. If we can't, you can give us our ruling. Because it's been a little while for Peter C. Harvey, 2 weeks exactly, to reach an expedited decision. So the fact that he could maybe cut off the NFL and the NFLPA settlement by just issuing a ruling, kind of going rogue almost, is a bit peculiar. Now, Mary Kay, boots on the ground, reverbalizing sort of the same stuff we have seen so far, that Deshaun Watson's legal team and the NFLPA are actively talking settlement, which kind of gets me wondering, all right, if they're talking settlement, and it's been a little while here, the more I think about it, the longer this drags out, the better that is for Deshaun Watson. It means that the NFL is listening, right? If they weren't interested in whatever Watson and his camp had to offer, it would be over with. They would tell Peter C. Harvey, make this ruling, suggest a ruling, and he would do that anyway, and there would be no settlement. But the fact that it has been 2 weeks at this point, I mean, look at the timeline here, right? The NFL appealed the ruling given by Judge Robinson on August 3rd, 14 days ago. And the CBA said this has to be an expedited process. So to me, the longer this drags out, the better it is for Watson, because clearly the NFLPA must have some sort of leverage, whether it is threatening to go to court, air out some of the NFL owners' dirty laundry, get them subpoenaed and whatnot. The NFL clearly has something they are afraid of coming to light, and the NFLPA is using that, I have to imagine, to try and reach a settlement. That's option one here, okay? Option two is maybe all along the NFL never wanted Deshaun Watson to get a year-long suspension. So they are hoping to reach a deal where the optics still check out and they can turn to people and say, hey, we are sorry we didn't give him a year-long suspension, but we felt this was adequate. And we tacked on, I don't know, $5-10 million in fines. I don't really care. And that way Deshaun Watson does play football this year, and the NFL can see better ratings because let's face it, what's a better story? Jacoby Brissett against the Bucs and the Bills down the stretch this season? Or Deshaun Watson coming in with this Cleveland Browns team right on the bubble of making the playoffs and having some big primetime games? Now, before we get to the rest of my kind of analysis and recap on all of this, if you are ready for all this to be over, just spam FPIT down in the comments section because I am tired, really am tired of seeing Steelers fans tweet about this as if Ben Roethlisberger is the patron saint of women. It is just blasphemy. So type FPIT down in the comments section below. And also, over on Rumble, another great spot to get your daily Browns news and rumors coverage. We are second here at Chat Sports among all of our NFL team channels. I want to be number one. I want to take down the Chiefs. Help me accomplish that goal by following us at rumble.com/Browns Report. That link's in the comments and the description of today's show. Moving along here, saw this tweet today. Chops had some fun with it, deservingly so, because Brent Zoblisky, tweeting out such a cowardly thing, in my opinion. While we wait, a 10-game suspension for Deshaun Watson would be the worst-case scenario for the Browns. Why? Majority of the season with backup QB, then try to insert starter who hasn't practiced in 2 months, no games in 22 months. Contract tolls equates to a lost season. If you're going to go with that logic, wouldn't 12 or 14 games be worse, right? Still majority of the season with a backup quarterback. 12 games is definitely a lower probability of Deshaun Watson able to step in, take this team to the playoffs. And it's longer that he's gone without practicing or playing. So I don't know why 10 is the magic number right here. No, I don't think it's a lost season if Watson comes in for week really 12, because if it is a 10-game suspension, just add 1 to that number because that bye week is not going to count. So really count it as like 10-game, 11 weeks here. But there is a little bit of truth to the contract aspect of this because if Deshaun Watson were to be suspended indefinitely, his contract would just be pushed back a year, which would be relatively good, right? You'd have Deshaun Watson for 1 more year and everything would get kicked in a year later. So there is a bit of like a, I don't want to call it a silver lining, but like in a pile of shit, it wouldn't be one little nugget of like, all right, at least we have him for an extra year. Now, Deshaun Watson doesn't want that to happen because that means he's 1 year older when his contract is up, and that could mean less money because all of a sudden the team goes, oh, you're a little bit older. I don't want to give you all that money, but it's probably not going to be a major factor in 5 years. But there is something to that here. For me, short-term wise, get Watson out on the field ASAP as possible, right? I can maybe see why in 3 years from now, if, right, looking back at this just chaotic season so far in off-season, if the Browns don't make the Super Bowl and you're like, well, what was the point of Watson even going out there? They could have just had him sit out for a year and got, his contract pushed back a year and whatnot, and he would have been tossed into the fire. But no, I mean, Andrew Berry went through a lot to get Deshaun Watson. He wants to see him play this year, right? Because if Watson doesn't play this year and Watson comes in next year and just the team maybe gets off to a bad start, like his ass is going to be on the hot seat because people are going to be blaming him and Stefanski going, hey, you gave this guy $230 million and moved on from a quarterback who won us our first playoff game in how long? And we didn't get to see him play in 2022. And then they come out in 2023 and they start off, I don't know, like maybe even 0-1, and people are going to be banging on the drum of hot seat. No, get Watson out there as soon as possible so he can just start being a Cleveland Brown. Now, going back to that 10-game suspension maybe being ideal, I just want to run through the entire schedule here just at a glance because first 10 games or 10 weeks of the season, if he were to be suspended 10 games, that's not the only allotment of games he would miss because that bye does not count for missing a week, right? So Deshaun Watson would miss all of these games if it were a 10-game settlement, which probably feels like that is what the NFL and NFLPA are maybe closing in on, right? Because if it was a much higher number, there wouldn't be much of a settlement to be had, right? It would just be Peter C. Harvey's ruling. So let's say it was a 10-game suspension. Well, Deshaun Watson would miss all these games on screen. And then moving on a little bit here, Week 11 at the Bills, he would miss as well. And he would return for Week 12 home against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, we've also heard rumors of, hey, the Texans do not want to play Deshaun Watson. So a 12-game suspension would knock him out through Week 13 and have him make his debut Week 14 down, I was about to say Paul Brown Stadium, but down in Cincinnati. What is the new Bengals stadium name? I already forgot it. It was worse than Acrisure Stadium. Someone commented, just an awful name. But that's what the Browns schedule looks like right there. Now, I want you guys to predict this for me before we get on out of here. What week will Deshaun Watson return? The fact that they are closing, reports are saying they are getting close and they're active in settlement talks here. It's got to be higher than 6 games. I think the big thing that they're maybe arguing over may not even be so much about the games, but the money, because the NFL is pissed that Deshaun Watson, as it stands, would only miss $345,000 for 6 weeks. I'm guessing if I had to predict, and I hate doing this because it's such a crapshoot, 10 games, $10 million, fine him for last year, tack on more fines for this year than just less than $500,000, up it from 6 to 10. Sounds about right. I mean, the AP reported last week that Watson was willing to accept 8 games, $5 million. Well, I'm guessing the NFL maybe wanted 12 games. So could they meet in the middle, go to 10, bump up the fine from 5 to 10 million? That kind of feels like that could be in the range. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for us on today's show. Who knows? You might be seeing me later today with an agreement, as Dan Graziano reported, so stay tuned for that. But until then, go Browns.